MBA, Jain University, Bangalore, organized by Institute Innovation Council, Raghu Engineering College. I take this as a great privilege to great opportunity to introduce our today's guest, Sri Satya Siddharth Panda Garu, who believes my mission is to enthuse youth to achieve their dreams. Sri Satya Siddharth Panda, who hails from Orissa, has 16 years of teaching experience in the corporate and leading universities. He is the best-selling author of book You Can Crack the Job Interview. His career has focused on the link between creative thinking and leading knowledge work in workforce in NGO, educational solutions, universities, IT industry. Satya is a research fellow from EIU USA, postgraduate in journalism, mass communication from Utkal University and management study from SMU, MPhil from Jain Deemed University, and pursuing PhD in management from TMU. He is a certified life skills trainer under the guidance of Dr. Ali Kaja and a certified instructional designer and earned a digital marketing certificate from Google. He worked for BOB Tech Solutions, a US-based company, and has also a proven record of leadership qualities in the outsourcing machine, projects for Patni Computers, Wipro, Perot System, HCL, Tata Interactive Services Mumbai, etc. Also was associated with Jain Deemed to be University, Chris Deemed to be University, St. Joseph College of Commerce and Management, I Nurture Education Solutions, the National Institute of Business Studies. He is also a young and inspiring person and a human architect in the field of teaching pedagogy, digital marketing, leadership training, behavioral training, and life skill coach. He has transformed L&D from a traditional training organization to a performance consulting organization and even in an innovative educational institution, presently working at Sunstone as assistant professor in digital marketing. He is a guest resource and professor at Christ and deemed to be Jain University, St. Joseph College of Commerce and Management, Bangalore, IBMR International Business Studies, RL Institute of Management, Madurai, and International Institute of Business Studies, GIT University, CMR Technical Campus, Hyderabad, Paul University, ISME, Bangalore. He was an external assets board member for ISBC, London School of Commerce, UK. He is a trainer and consultant at Institute of Strategic Management and Research, Bangalore, and junior research professional, Innovative Research and Development Agency, New Delhi. He has successfully delivered short and long-term training assessments in the field of leadership, creative thinking, digital marketing, student engagement, team building, life skills, mock interviews, and pre-placement training at different universities, educational institutions, startup, and large and medium enterprises in the country. A quiz master for B School in India, and a life member at ISTD Bangalore chapter. He believes that excellence is not a skill but an attitude, and that an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. His mission statement is to enthuse youth to achieve their dream. This aspect of his personality is strongly embedded in his mission statement, which has been his core driving force and mantra throughout his life, which is to continuously creating confident people in an ever-changing world. He has successfully mentored and counseled more than 3,000 young career aspirants across the country within the span of last 4 years, and it is a never-ending process due to his passion and mission of his life. Along with that, he has been published 5 different books and also received many awards and did many publications. He strongly believes on DSD, which is nothing but do something different in your life and do what you love. So without any further delay, I would hand over the session to sir. And we are very much eager to listen to your session, sir. Now the session is hand over to you. Thank you so much.
Panda sir, on behalf of students and everybody, we welcome you once again for the session.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swati. Can I share my slide, Dr. Swati?
Sure, sir, sure.
Yeah. Is it visible?
No, sir.
Slide is not visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir. It is no, sir. It's not visible.
Okay, great. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Srinivas, for giving me this opportunity to share my limited knowledge in the space of innovation and startup. And it's quite very interesting topic. I appreciate for choosing this topic, which is very necessary with reference to higher education and to building an ecosystem of innovation and startup from the young, mind of our country. So what I have planned for my briefing is about understanding the innovation and startup metrics, how an educational institutions can create a ecosystem to enable the young minds to bring their ideas on table, and then a lot of example I bring into it, and then I'll share a few context it in terms of what is the scope and what are the opportunities you can get through different policies and different ecosystem support from government agencies as well. So before I begin, when we're talking about innovation and startup, it's always very important to think about one thing is how creative we are, right? And that's very important in the perspective of innovation and startup. Now, when we're talking about how creative we are, if I say, I'm going to show you two different images to the audience right away, and you can respond or you can use your chat box to reply. Number one image, which is on your screen, I'm sure it is visible to all of you, the parachute, right? This is the first image. And let me show you the second image is the mind, right? It's a, the two different image. And if I ask you, what is a common element? What are those, similarities between the first image, this, and this? What is a common, similarities between these two? And very perhaps, most of us, we can speak about the color, right? Color having a similarities. That's very, very important, right? So when I'm talking about color having a similarities, we need to understand one very important parameter to be creative. When I looking into this first one, what is the similarities, and the second one, what is the similarities? Very often, most of us we respond that. Yes, please.
Sir, your screen is not visible, sir.
It's not visible. Okay, let me.
I think you didn't share it, sir.
Okay, let me share again.
You have to share it, sir.
Okay, it's visible now, sir.
No, sir. Sir, share. You have to share. Sir, right side there is an option.
Yes, I'm clicking on the share slide and I'm going to my screen and I have shared it. Just share see if you're able to share. Share screen I have to share, right?
Yes, sir.
Now you're able to see, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, let
sir,
me try.
if it is possible, you can send me the PPT, sir. I will share from here.
Now see, it must be shared. Just see.
No, sir.
Okay, then I'll do one thing, sir. I'm sharing with you in your WhatsApp.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, sir, I have shared it. Can you just on it, please? Yeah.
Through WhatsApp, sir, or through mail, sir?
Yeah, through WhatsApp. So it's easy for you to quickly access.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
think it is taking some time, sir. To upload.
Okay, then let me start. Meanwhile, you can on it, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can. You got it, sir?
Yes, looking, sir. No, sir, till now it is not yet. Yes, sir, it came.
Yeah, you can just on it. Yes. No, not yet visible, sir. No, not yet, sir. It's coming. I think it's downloading. Yes, it's visible now, sir. It's visible now. Thank you. Thank you. Next slide, sir, please. So I was sorry for inconvenient. So I was talking about when we're talking about creativity, that's the bottom line when we think about innovation and, startup ecosystem. It begins with an idea where you can convert your idea into a business model, right? That's very, very important for all of us to think through. Now, when we're talking about creativity in a true sense, now for an example, if I talk about Febistick, right, which generally all of us as a student in school days, we have used it for a lot of assignments, right? Now, a government school student, 10th student who was studying in a very, small village of a government school, right? When he thought about Febistick into a butter stick, now he realized that how his mother is struggling to prepare a breakfast for school, right? And where he realized how difficult it is to prepare, breakfast of, you're using a butter and bread, where he got an idea from a Fevistick and he convert into a butter stick. So what is this context I'm trying to talk about is very important for us to understand how important is to understand the problem. And that's why people very often ask that, sir, how this idea comes from? The ideas are everywhere. You need to navigate those ideas, identify the problem, and then convert into an opportunity to showcase a product or a services. And that's why very often we as a student, the very common myths that, okay, my college is in very interior, my place is very interior, I'm not a part of a Silicon Valley, I'm not in Bangalore or I'm not in Hyderabad. No, that is not an excuse just to be an entrepreneur today. When we're talking about that sense, it doesn't matter who you are and where you are from, how old you are. You can come up with the best possible ideas which can solve a problem. And that's why it is very, very important for us to understand the innovation. And India is a land of innovation. Everywhere you will find out a lot of ideas by the common people, right? And that's the larger avenue today. But the important is how we can connect to enabler, where they can help us to grow our idea into an incubation stage, then to a prototype, and that into a market. That's very important to talk about. Now, in that sense, if I'm looking into important characteristics of an entrepreneur, now very often we observe that to be an entrepreneur, you need to be highly qualified. To be an entrepreneur, you must belongs to a family business. Absolutely not correct. Now, there are a lot of examples I'm going to give about which defines that no, education is not only one criteria to be an entrepreneur, not you should come from a family business. Now, when we're talking about successful entrepreneur or the characteristics of successful entrepreneurs, we think about open-minded. Trust me, to be an entrepreneur, you need to be open-minded. You need to be very flexible. You need to be very risk taker. You need to be very passionate about solving a problem. Now, when we're talking about 10 or 11, best characteristics, which is a part of your design thinking concept, right? Where the concept defines the certain characteristics, which is very, very necessary to be an entrepreneur is one is keep up to date. You need to be update yourself. It means you need to be a continuous learner. That is number one. Number two is open-minded. You must look at the problem and think about the solutions rather than run away from a problem. And they're passionate about innovate something, passionate about do things different in your life. And absolutely, you must be a risk taker. Now, very often, when we're talking about entrepreneur, we're talking about the person is very senior, maybe 30 to 40 years old, right? That's a myth. That's a wrong perception when you think about or relate about a entrepreneur. Now, when we're talking about an entrepreneur, you can surprised to know about a age of 16, a school-going individual, a school-going student, a kid, a age of 16, who is an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur in India. His name is Tilak Mehta. He's one of the young entrepreneur in India, perhaps one of the young entrepreneur in Asia. So he proved himself that there is no age barrier to innovate something. There is no age barrier, no qualification to innovate something different to be an entrepreneur. So he started a company called Papers and Parcels. So this company offers a door-to-door pickup and delivery services about everything, starting from a pen to all your important paperwork. So he is not even a tech, he is not even engineering because he's a 16 years. He learned by himself through YouTube and understood a potential market. And he started a company called Papers and Parcels. So it defines us to understand there is no age limit. There is only a qualified individual can be an entrepreneur. Now, talking about you as a student, how do I looking into innovation and startup ecosystem? All of you engineering students have your internship, right? All of you comes from a different places, and those places have certain avenues, certain potentialities, certain problem faced by people. And that's why you need to navigate what you have learned in the classroom beyond the world. You need to come out of your classroom and think about what you have learned and how do you practice it into, bringing innovation and, your sustainability. That's very important for all of us to understand. Now, when I'm thinking about Philips, the company Philips, right? What comes to us, what comes to your mind when we think about Philips? And we generally think about Philips as a home appliances, right? Isn't it? The Philips, who produces home appliances, you're in, what we call that, micro oven, Philips light, Philips electrical items, home appliances, right? But, sorry to speak about, Philips was about to close down their home appliances segment. Like you, an engineering student who was an intern in Philips Bangalore office. And all of us, all these company employees started talking about, okay, Philips will be shut down because there is no good businesses going on in home appliances. An intern like you who was studying, who was doing an internship in Philips, he got an excellent idea to survive. And for your kind information, more than 30% of sales and more than 60% of the profit came from a different business areas, nothing to do with home appliances. So this guy came up with an excellent idea which speaks about innovation, which speaks about creativity, which speaks about think about a new business perspective. Sir, can you scroll down to slide number 18? If you can scroll down slide number 18. Am I audible, sir? Hello? Can you able to slide number 18 where this micro oven and baby incubator is there? Yes, thank you. Thank you. So now Philips was in home appliances. This intensive student, a BE engineering student, mechanical engineering, he gave an idea. No more with home appliances. We have a great innovation in place. We have a great mind in place. Can we think about something into healthcare? So he gave an idea from a micro oven to a baby incubator, premature baby. Looks like very similar the design, but look at the ideas. And today, Philips is able to survive today in a market of healthcare, closely competing with General Electric. They are a pioneer in healthcare segment, producing and manufacturing healthcare equipments. And that's the power of your thinking. That's the power of innovation. And that's why Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam said that creativity is not a problem. Everybody is creative, but the thinking is a problem. The day you start thinking, curious yourself to solve a problem, you are in the initial stage of being an entrepreneur in your life. And that's why the person doesn't need to be qualified. Yes, qualification add value to your ideas, no doubt, but it is very important for us to understand the problematic scenario where you belongs to. Now, let's say you are in Visakhapatnam, a place where you are living. You can figure out a lot of ideas in it. You can start working on those ideas, right? And that's why when we're thinking about Indian context, the culture of ecosystem of entrepreneur, long way to go. And we being a parents, we don't allow our kids to, go in a different way to solve a problem, right? That's why whenever we think about a problem, we must think about a different way to solve a problem. And that's why I call it as a creativity in action, right? And that's why there is a person who always think about there is no solution. He is afraid to take a risk, right? He don't want to solve a problem because fear of failure, what my uncle will think, what my teacher will think, what my colleague will think, what my classmates will think if I fail. That's why one category is a person comes under no solutions. The mindset is very limited. And the second category is a person who believe on one thing that, okay, I have solved already the similar problem, let me use the same way. But the third category is a person who believes on new, better solutions. And that's where the avenues comes in to be an innovator, to be an entrepreneur in that sense, right? You have a limited scope to be an entrepreneur in that sense. So you need to be very, very particular about solving the problem to offer a better solutions to the market. That's very, very important, right? Now, when we're thinking about that perspective, you can think about a model called PIDA cycle. Sir, can you scroll down? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. 21, slide number 21, which is PIDA cycle. Yes, sir. So this is a common pattern, even educational institutions can think to implement in their incubation. Number one, preparation. See, preparation should not be only focused on exam centric rather than problem solving centric. So what I mean about we being a teacher, create a opportunity. We can create an opportunity through our subject itself. Now, for an example, an engineering student studying X as a subject, there is an interdisciplinary approach, and that's why your new education policy also emphasizing on that process, outcome-based learning. Now, the two faculty of different stream can collaborate, find a problem, and ask the student to prepare to solve that problem. That can be come up in their academic, and that also create a portfolio for students to be a further level of entrepreneur in their life. So the first part is the preparation to solve a problem rather than exam centric. It should not be purely on academic rather than practice. That's the first area we need to focus on in our academic preparation. And the second one is imagination. Once the student can think and imagine the various angle, various aspects, various possibility to solve a problem, they can think about a development prototype and the finally execution state. And that's why preparation, imagination, development, and action can create you to think differently. And that's why look at today the startup in India. A lot of startups are emerged, right? So can you move into the next slide, please? 22 slide, which is reflecting about tea in India, chai, right? Thank you. Now, when we're talking about tea in India, what is the concept of tea? Tea is a tea in India, right? Chai, a glass of tea which costs 10 rupees for all of us. Now, there are startups who think about a different aspect. That's why I was trying to talk about preparation stages. The company thought about, okay, tea can be scalable today, right? They identify the possible opportunities. They identify who can be their target market. And that's why the new company emerged as a chai point, who is selling a chai for working professional who is delivering tea by using e-commerce. And that's a potential we have today. And I will appeal to all the students to think differently and find out a possible problem and connect to a better solutions. Now, when you thinking about a success entrepreneur, right? Those who comes from a village, they're not highly qualified. They are from a village. There are a lot to talk about the success stories, which is out of the box thinking. But how did it come from? This comes from a culture of ecosystem, which can be from your institutions, which comes from your collaboration. Now look at this gentleman. If you're talking about the further slides, sir, talking about the earthquake in Gujarat in 2001, huge earthquake happened in Gujarat in 2001, right? Close to 2,000 people were killed and close to 4 lakhs people lost their homes, and that's countless. During that crisis, one villagers from Gujarat, right, Prajapati, his name is Prajapati, who lost everything, but through that crisis he came up with a innovation, minim, that it called as Mitikul village fridge, right, made up with mud. He had a bigger crisis, but through that crisis, he brought into an ideas of inventing something because of that crisis, which was featured by your Discovery Channel as well. So what I'm indicating over is the way you learn to identify the problem, the way you learn to solve the problem, it is a matter of your temperament to see the problem into your practices. Now, I belongs to a very remote, village of Odisha, and almost, I think most of us, we are from a village background, and we are very well equipped with the farming segment. Now, when we're talking about farming segment, this drip irrigation system, I think we all are familiar with. Now, talking about the business model, agriculture, farmland, rent, agri-land is giving a farming. Through farming, you are able to generate a business model. Through drip irrigation system, you are able to generate a business model. And that's where everywhere, not you are from village or you are from a city, doesn't matter. Innovation doesn't have a limitation of geographical boundaries. It is a state of mind to be curious to solve a problem. And for that, education institutions plays an important role. And I do call that as an enabler, right? Who can enable you, who can help you to identify the possible opportunity to bringing a startup ecosystem, right? They are the people who can be an investor, who can be an incubators, who can be a mentors, and who can be a government bodies. Now, what is the role of a higher education here? Can be collaborated. Can be collaborated with incubators, right? Can be collaborated with industry mentors. Can be collaborated with government, agencies. There is a lot to talk about when we're talking about a enabler, and that's why innovation and ecosystem, your startup ecosystem enabler process is very critical to an educational institutions. For that, government have created an ecosystem of how do you register as an enabler? Why should you register as an enabler? Now, for an example, your institution, IIC Cell, doing a wonderful job to bringing the people, onboarding them to share their ideas and express their, opportunity to them. That's very important to talk about. In that process, you may think about, okay, if our institutions, or if I registered myself as an enabler of, incubation process, what benefit I should get? Number one, once you registered in the process of enabler services of innovation ecosystem, number one, you can get access to 45,000 startup across all stages. You will develop your network, right? You can understand how this ecosystem of startup operates. That's a first opportunity after your registration. And you can stay updated what is happening around in the trend of ecosystem. As I told, one of the critical aspects of an entrepreneur is stay updated. And that's where you can bring your theory into practice. And the third one, create your, programs. You can collaborate with a lot of potential, agencies, right? NESCOM, talking about a lot of private agencies are there. You can collaborate with them to bring a lot of hackathon in place. You can develop a hackathon within the organization, within your institutions or within the district or within the state, right? Where you can create an open space for the young minds to share their ideas into practice, right? Find out the suitable data. That's very important. Through registration of enabler process, you can find out that and you can co-create that activities in that process. Now, when we're talking about enabler, we need to understand the metrics of enabler process in Edu system. Number one is regulatory. You have your regulatory, AICT is there, UGC is there, NEC is there, and a lot of ecosystem they brought into, right, in the education space when they think about bringing innovation and bringing agility to bring a collaboration to develop an incubator. That's one area to think about. There are donors, right, who donate for infrastructure development, who donate for, like for an example, TCS in Bangalore. A lot of engineering colleges have a TCS enabler system where they donate through their CSR activities for better infrastructure for incubation, better infrastructure for creating an ecosystem of idea generation. That's where the educational institutions, industry collaboration is very necessary. Now, talking about ecosystem builder, the coordinator, right? Your SME agencies, right, of the state or the district, right? Or innovative agencies. There is a PeopleSoft where they are morely emphasizing on artificial intelligence. They fund for a small incubation within your system. Or the public or private organization, government organization. So you should be very closely connecting to government agencies, or even a public or the private agencies to bringing that ecosystem in that process. And the fourth one is ecosystem enabler, right? Your educators, teachers plays an important role. You must not only focus on, the academic side of your curriculum, rather than you must focus on building a ecosystem of problem solving mindset. You must develop a curiosity among your students to solve a problem. And that's why small mini live projects can attract the small investor, and you can develop a network, right? That's where your action plan has to be. So ecosystem builder and ecosystem enabler goes along with that, right? And then wealth generator, entrepreneurs. I mean, that's where the culture need to change. Being a parents, we must ensure that our kids should be placed. Rather than we must also focusing on, there is a huge scope. Can we encourage our next generations to be the entrepreneur, right? The wealth generator. That's where the culture need to change in compared to other country. And that's where you as an individual, when we're talking about, the process of building a ecosystem, there are two ways to talk about. One is innovation ecosystem, and the second one is startup ecosystem. When we're talking about innovation ecosystem, there is something called collaboration, open collaboration. Let me give an example of open collaboration. As you know, that Procter & Gamble is one of a leading brand in across the world, perhaps in FMCG product, right? Now, when you're talking about innovation ecosystem, they believe on open collaboration. What does it mean about open collaboration? When they think about any design of a product, they also take an input from outside rather than within the system. So educational institutions need to also focus on open collaboration. They must collaborate with the incubations, cell, government agencies, or the investors. Right, and that's why when we're talking about innovation ecosystem, it is more about innovation via big companies and public sector. That's one way to talk about. Closed process, it is within the system, right? Whereas startup ecosystem is more about open, collaborative, and external resources. So they need to collaborate with expertise of outside. And that's an educational institutions can enable that process within the preview of educational institutions by collaborating external agencies, collaborating, different resources, right? Can be idea generation stage, can be prototype stage, can be, product implementation stage, can be marketing stage. They can take an experts outsource to different agency for their ecosystem. Now, we may also think about, how do we simplify it? How do this industry, academia, partnership and incubation can change and bring an ecosystem within the system to create more entrepreneur? Now, when I say simplification of hand holding, that's very important. They are just a graduate, just pursuing their degree. They need a proper hand holding. So the mentorship is one very important aspect you can think about when we think about simplification. And what I mean about is, you must have some kind of Startup India hub. You must be part of Startup India hub, right? Or the state hub, where the ecosystem of startup culture is, closely connecting to the academia. That's where your mentorship begins over here, right? Or you can also, create a, small cohort within the system, a mechanical engineering, or, talking about electrical engineering, computer science, artificial intelligence, machine learning. There must be some kind of mini cohort within the system, and there must be one mentor within the system of academia, and there must be one mentor from an industry. And that's where the add value begins it. Right, that's the one area you can simplify the process. It means you must develop certain kind of process orientation here, which can be simplified to the academia and simplified to the student, as well as a mentor within the system and external. That's the one area to talk about. And the second area, when we're talking about industry and academia partnership, where you can think about organizing startup fest. Lot of, when we're talking about in Bangalore, if you're talking about Christ University or Jain University, every semester we have a startup fest where we showcasing the initial startups in India, or perhaps in that particular geographical location, which is truly a remarkable motivation for your student, right? You can invite them to showcase their innovation. You can invite them, you can even collaborate them for intensive for your student. And that's where your industry academia partnership is very, very critical. Even you can, I think you know about this Atal Innovation Mission, AMI, which is again a self-employment and talent, pool program, right? You can, I think your institutions having that has to be highly, active in the space of innovation with your, academia journey. And also building an innovation culture. That's very important. So culture is something you cannot copy, but it has to be preached. It means the students or the stakeholders should understand the value of incubation, why it is very critical in the process of growth. That's the process you need to build in, right? And then finally, funding support. Educational institution can start thinking about funding, small funding, to bring a change of action into reality, or you can collaborate with a lot of seed funder investors, right? That's where this industry academia partnership and incubation is very, very critical. These are the three pillars: simplification of the process to execute, industry and academia partnership, and the finally funding support and investment. These are the three ecosystem need to build in the process of execution. Apart from that, I think as you know that your University Innovation Fellowship India program, which was governed by the government of India and our below Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, who called for University Innovation Fellowships. This fellowship was introduced in 2016, right, where the program was partnered with Google, right, as an international initiative. Google India has also trained more than 200 million people, right, where to enhance the technological innovation in a grass level, where you can be part of this fellowship program. You can nominate students be a part of this program. And that's why this enabler is educational institutions plays a vital role to bring that ecosystem and culture of innovation. That's very, very critical. Now, when we're talking about ecosystem and what is the result you can get out of it, I wanted to share one incident when I was a part of a project, right? I don't have to name the name of the institutions, but that's where this enabler as an educational institutions and government agency played an important role to bring a new entrepreneur. Now, in that process, what happened that educational institutions encourage students to part of a life projects through different NGO. So I was leading a one project. I'm talking about 2000, 8 and 9, 10, in fact 10 during that phase, right? Where these business folks, MBA students came up with a problem. And what is the problem? Government of India banned plastic, right? Where there's all food parcels, food, plates and all was banned. Plastic was banned by the government of India, right? So that's where all these initial manufacturers struggle what to do next. So these 3 students gave an ideas of plastic. And what I'm talking about this plastic, they thought about, okay, plastic is no more use. What is the next solutions, right? They came up with the beautiful solutions, add on to the existing business model. This paper, then they came into the paper plate, then subsequently they came up with the, recyclable plastic. Then finally they came with an idea of this, what we call that lips, right? So what I'm indicating over is students have a potential, only we need to leverage their ideas into reality. What it means, a close hand-holding, mentoring process is the key to bringing that ecosystem of culture of curiosity among the students. So being a teacher, being a faculty of a university or a higher education space, even an engineering faculties can add value to it to bring that idea generation into a product. And no matter, you can produce so many entrepreneurs from your institutions also. And that's where you need to follow a innovation matrix. And what I mean about a innovation matrix, there are 4 different aspects to correlate with. Number 1 is the human, which I called it as a interdependent, right? It's the second one, and that's human, I'm relating to the culture. I'll go deeper into it. And the second metric I'm talking about descriptive, which is talking about industry driven and policy, right? Research oriented. And the third metrics I'm talking about creative, experiential and idea generation. And the fourth metrics I'm talking about operational. There are 3 major metrics need to be considered to bringing that enabler in educational institutions. Human, I'm talking about culture. It means you must encourage your students to be innovative. There must be some kind of incentive to it, some kind of appreciation to it. And the second one, linking to industry to that process, research, right? That gives add value to your students. They can really feel the trend, what is happening around and what is, can work out, that can bring a add value when we're talking about bringing that research and policy in place. And the third one is creative. You allow students to experiment. You allow students to bring their ideas into table, because generally they are afraid to fail. You create that culture, you create that creative space to your students to add value to their ideas, and finally operational execution, right? Their resource allocation and execution. So these are the 4 metrics which I'm talking about: culture, research, service and market. It means from ideas get into your innovation get into a problem solving, and problem solving getting into a business model. And that's why your innovation metrics help institutions and association to government bodies to bring a lot of entrepreneur in place. Now talking about what is the support an educational institutions or an individual can get into to be an entrepreneur. Now if you're talking about MSME government schemes, there are so many schemes. I think it is very, very necessary to orient your students to avenues of an entrepreneur. Those days, how difficult it was to be an entrepreneur, and today how easy in the sense the process is so, effective to be an entrepreneur today. Now talking about, government scheme, there are very necessary to understand, we're talking about, Udyog Aadhar. There is a scheme, Udyog Aadhar scheme. Easily availing credit, government can give you a credit. You can easily avail a loan. Even you can easily avail a subsidiaries. And that's why lack of knowledge of this benefits leads to risk-taking abilities. They should not feel that, okay, there is a financial risk. No, you must share a lot of scheme, lot of benefits to young avenues of entrepreneur who believe that they can be an entrepreneur. This leads to kind of moral support to them. Now there is one scheme called Aspire, right? A scheme of promotion of innovation in rural industries and entrepreneur. That is called Aspire, right? It was launched to set up incubation center and network with technology center. Even in educational institutions can be a part of this scheme, Aspire scheme, which is called Promotion of Innovation, Rural Industry and Entrepreneur, right? Which help you to set up an incubation and network of technology center, right? To promote startup innovation in agro industry. And today, when you're talking about engineering folks, huge opportunity in agro industry being an entrepreneur. That's where you can, do a research and find out the avenues of, using this scheme. Apart from that, there is another scheme which can enable you to be, get off your mind of entrepreneur to a reality. Mudra Bank. There is a micro unit development, refinance agency, right? That's called Mudra Loan also, is a new financial institution set up by the government of India. Under the guideline of this, Pradhan Mantri Mudra scheme, the loan are provided to encourage entrepreneurship and startup. Mudra loans are given to all small manufacturers, small entrepreneurs, small startups, individual also, right? That's where, you don't need to take a financial risk in initial stage. The risk is bring the ideas into reality. It means your ideas has to have some value to the market. And then, all the scheme can work out for you as well. There are so other schemes out there, but there are few schemes which is very important. Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, that's called RKVY. There is a one more scheme, that's again part of your state plan scheme by the state government, right? Where they give lot of, benefits to building ecosystem, financial support, and they will orient you to how to run your agri related business also, right? And there is again for women entrepreneurship platform, WEP, which provides an ecosystem for building this existing women entrepreneur across the country by providing different support services like incubation, training center. How do you market your ideas? How do you scale up your ideas into? There is a lot of mentorship can be provided through that scheme also, which is free. Again, there is something called Dena Sakti scheme. This scheme is also for a women entrepreneur to build limited only, field in agriculture, retail, manufacturing, and entrepreneurship of IT, right? Or something called microcredit organization. Even they can give you a loan of 20 lakhs rupees. So what I'm indicating through this is educational institutions should create a space of orienting and encouraging the young mind to avail such kind of opportunity to bring their ideas into the startup India. And today, because of this Make in India and Digital India, power to empower is a reality today. Government initiative, and that's why you should not only depending on the government rather than enabler. Collaboration, private collaboration is so huge scope for today to be the space of education and to be the space of incubation. Hackathon is one example. Boot camps, right? Today a lot of venture capitalists and a lot of investors are creating that hackathon as filtering the best ideas to invest money on it. You being a part of this, an educational institution should collaborate with such agencies. Even government of India also does that. A lot of private agencies are doing this, entrepreneurship bootcamp and hackathon competition. You should be part of such avenues to get into the scope of, bigger space. Now, talking about how innovation can turn into an ecosystem of startups, it should be start with the grassroots level. What is possible? Start working on it. And being a educational institutions, being a faculty, being a student, need to collaborate within the system, need to start within the system, within the boundaries of your educational institutions, and need to collaborate accordingly. You need to find out, you need to map out what is expertise you need, what is available with you, what kind of resources you have, and what kind of resource support do you need. And that's generalization, that's opportunity finding is necessary with the help of collaboration only. And nobody can success without collaboration today. To be successful, you need to be collaborate with the skill set, collaborate with resources, collaborate with agencies to fuel the ideas into reality. And that's why all these engineering folks today need to learn the skill of collaboration. Today, we are so fortunate because of this digital transformation. There is no called geographical boundaries. Sitting in Visakhapatnam, you can pitch into the investor sitting in USA. Not a big deal. So privileged today. Early days, you're committing challenges, extra expenses, that is cut today. Because of this so-called digitalization, you are so fortunate to well-equipped, quickly, fasterly connect to your, your investor or the agencies today. And that's why when we're thinking about innovation and startup ecosystem enabler, you're apart from your government agencies, lot to play from educational institutions, lot to play from the the faculty fraternity, and lot to play from the private agencies. Today, talking about TCS, talking about Infosys, talking about Wipro. Their CSR, their the budget plans also more emphasizing on building a ecosystem of startups through various educational institutions. It means you need to learn to collaborate with them. You need to establish that kind of forum, that kind of practices in our institutions to energize those agencies to come on board with you to collaborate. And that's why a lot of best practices can bring into collaboration. One is hackathon, second one is the boot camp, and the finally is your you must encourage them, you must give some kind of incentives to them, right? And that's where this leverage of motivation begins to think differently to bring a lot of sea changes in the process of innovation. And that's why enablers are not only one way to correlate, it is also talking about internal capacity building and external capacity building. So at educational institutions, you should not only depending on government agency, rather than with your preview of your capacity of resourcefulness, you should start working at ground level, which can bring a lot of synergy to bring a best practices on process to bring innovation and culture of ecosystem of startups. Yes, Srinivas, sir. Any question, any thought? I'm open for it.
Sir, meanwhile we have disconnected all the mics, sir, of students due to echoes, etc.
Okay.
We will send you an email regarding the questions that students will ask completely.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely no problem. I'll happy to.
Because exactly by the time we complete it, it is the time of their lunch, sir.
I understood. Absolutely not a problem, sir. Absolutely.
That is the reason why we will send all the questions to you by tomorrow evening, sir.
Absolutely.
Along with the feedback and the required number of documents.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sir, is it completed, sir?
Yes, it's done, sir. It's done.
Yes, sir. Sir, today this is the last session, sir. Actually, we have planned 5 sessions, and 5 sessions have been completed with your session, sir, right now, just now. And okay. This particular session, especially, we are having 5 to 6 incubation ideas, startup ideas even with our faculty, with our students, sir.
Great.
One idea already has been came into this one, sir. What we call Make in India process. And already it is already certified, and it has become a company by name Certimate. It is a company by name Certimate. This is our student, and he is already employed 5 members from our college only. Even
wonderful, sir. That's wonderful.
He is giving already employment for already who are studying in the last year right now.
Great.
Nearly it is a worth of 4 lakhs per month company, sir. It is
wonderful, sir.
It has scheduled 1 year before, and it is taking its first birthday in the month of November, 10th or 8th.
Wonderful.
Very much thankful to you for giving a good session, sir. Mainly, the important problem here for our students is they are having ideas, but they are not able to understand how to approach these particular what we call funding agencies, so as to have their ideas into a company.
Wonderful, sir. I'll happy to connect a couple of potential investors to it. I will definitely, because today you cannot do, or institutions cannot do individually. They have to collaborate. At an educational institutions, you need to create that pool of networking of investors. So you need to come up with a different intervention strategy to bring them onto your campus. And that's, I think that will add value to your students' initial stage of idea to filtering and bring a lifeful, journey of entrepreneurship. That can be done.
Even we are encouraging our final year students to be as entrepreneurs rather than that of these job seekers, sir.
Very true, very true. That's why I told one of a slide, culture need to change.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Their parents are not accepting that one. That is the major problem for us.
That's everywhere, sir. It's everywhere. But yes, it is picking up today. It's going slide of change. It takes time to see that change of culture.
If they see the fruits of that particular entrepreneurship, it will be far better for them.
Yes.
Then thank you so much for your excellent session, sir. Now I hand over the session to Harshni to give away the vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all. I, Sai Harshini, on behalf of Raghu Engineering College, taking the opportunity to give vote of thanks for today's session. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Professor Satya Siddharth Panda Garu for his enlightening discussion on inviting and innovation and startup ecosystem enablers. Your insights have provided us with a deeper understanding of the crucial factors that require for entrepreneurial growth and creativity. The lines to become a successful entrepreneur, neither education nor family business were a barrier are exactly true. In fact, risk-taking, passionate about solving problems, continuous learning, being open-minded are the factors. Siddharth Panda sir's expertise has undoubtedly inspired us to explore new horizons and embrace innovations as a driving force for progress. We are truly grateful for your time, sir. I also thank the organizing committee, Dr. Srinivas Garu, Dr. Swati Garu, and K. Satyam Naidu, sir, for organizing such events which are useful for fostering our future success. Thank you one and all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Srinivas, for the opportunity. Can I log out, sir?
Sir, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You can log out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.